What's up, peeps? Nick Battle, aka NinosCorner, man. First off, if you like this content that is coming your way, hit that subscribe button. It means a ton. It means a lot. And also, hit that bell, get all my notifications here for the channel. Helps me grow the channel a lot. And folks, if you're listening to this on a streaming podcast platform, go like, comment, subscribe, and share. Helps me grow the channel a lot, folks. Means a ton. But folks, today we're going to talk about the recent Pro Football Focus preseason college football rankings. And they have the Texas Longhorns as the preseason number 5 team in the country. I'm gonna share my screen here so that you guys can see exactly who's on that list. So if you take a look, Georgia being the defending national champions are the number 1 team, followed by Alabama, who Texas has in week 2, followed by Ohio State, Michigan, and then Texas. And when you go down to teams that are going to matter to the Texas on their calendar, minus Alabama at 2, you got Oklahoma at number 13, you got TCU at 16, and Kansas State at 17. Folks, this is very interesting. It shows that Pro Football Focus is taking a lot with the returning talent that Texas has here in this team. Yes, Texas did lose Bijan Robinson and Roshan Johnson on the offensive side of the ball. However, Texas is returning Quinn Ewers, who should have a significant jump in his second year here in the system. They are returning Xavier Worthy. Nair is back healthy. They just added A.D. Mitchell from Georgia. The whole offensive line is still intact. You got Kelvin Banks Jr., who's a freshman All-American, and you got Christian Jones, who came back, for right tackle. At the left guard position, Hayden Connor, Jake Major still there at the center position. And then at the right guard position, you have Cole Hudson, who is coming back as a starter. But you have a lot of depth in that line and a lot of positions that still are pretty much up in the air. I would probably shoe in Jake Majors to be the starting center, Christian Jones to be starting right tackle, and Kelvin Banks Jr. to be the starting left tackle. And I think those two guard positions are going to be fought for very heavily, with Texas having a 5-star and DJ Campbell, who could potentially come in and play as well. So Cole Hudson has been injured here in the spring and in the summer, but so is Campbell as well. So it's going to be interesting just to see that dogfight happen here over the summer and into the fall and see who takes that job. Now, like I said, we did lose probably our top 2 leaders from the team, with Rojo and also Bijan Robinson. But however, I think the Texas offensive line is going to be a better offensive line. I think Pro Football Focus is thinking that as well, and they're thinking that Jonathan Brooks, coupled with the number 1 running back in the country from the 2023 cycle, and C.J. Baxter and Keelan Robinson and Jaden Blue, I think that they're looking at this and saying that Texas has a legitimate shot to do some great things in the rushing game as well, because their offensive line is going to be a year older, a year more mature, some more seasoning, right? So they should be pretty good as well. And then you sprinkle in a guy like Savion Red, man, who is showing some things here over the spring and the summer as well. Now, for the defensive side of the ball, Texas is losing Jameson. They lost Josh Thompson as well. However, on the defensive side of the ball, they did gain Jalen Catalon. Even though losing Anthony Cook, who was like a Swiss Army knife for this defense, they are getting Catalon from Arkansas, who was an all SEC player as a true freshman, but injuries have hampered him. I think, Pro Football Focus is looking at if this secondary is healthy. You have a Watts who did very well last year. You have Thompson as a safety, and then you have Catalan as a safety as well. You're returning Barron, who was an all Big 12 nickel last year. You're losing Jameson, but you're going to have a dogfight between Terrence Brooks and also Gavin Holmes, who's a transfer from Wake Forest, and you got Manny Muhammad, who was a freshman as well, who came from Suffolk Cliff. Now we are losing Coburn on the defensive line. He was drafted. He's with the Chiefs. However, we have Sweat, who is back. We got Byron Murphy, Alfred Collins as well. And we got Vernon Broughton. And then we just brought in Sadir Mitchell, Trill Carter, the transfer from Minnesota as well. So I think they're looking at the depth in that defensive line and thinking for the interior of that line, we're going to be good. Now, as far as the edges, we have Baron Sorrell, who led the team in sacks last year, I think with 5.5 or 6.5 sacks. We lost Ovie Gofu, who was the next person in line when it came to sacks. I think he had 2.5. He is linking back up with Brian Kelly at LSU. But we got to figure out who is going to get that definite pass rush. And I think that's one of the weak links here in this team, or, just yet to be seen. Is it going to be Ethan Burke? Is it going to be Colton Vasek? Is it going to be Tap? Or Bledsoe, who is going to step up and be that defensive end, that edge rusher, that presence, who can come in and do great things, rush the quarterback, get a bunch of pressures. Now, I think that's probably the only question that Pro Football Focus is having with this team. We did lose Overshawn at the linebacker position, but having a guy like Jalen Ford step up last year and do great things for Texas and basically become an All-American just out the blue, and be honest with you, he played outstanding. Having them come back for another year to anchor this defense is outstanding. And having a guy like Anthony Hill, and Samaje Burrell, LaFau, having those guys come in also to compete for that linebacker position, opposite of right Jalen Ford. Yeah, but having one of those guys come in and play opposite of Jalen Ford is going to be one thing to watch. But they're highly recruited prospects, and I think Pro Football Focus is looking at that as well. Now, one thing that I will say here is Texas is slotted to be pretty damn good this year per the schedule. And I want to talk about our main rival here in OU too. And I think this has potential for this to end up being a top probably 8 matchup in the country if both teams take care of business. And I'm going to share the Texas schedule here just as just to let you guys see exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so looking at ESPN and looking at the Texas schedule, the first game is Rice. Texas wins that game. Alabama, I honestly think that's going to be a coin flip game. Stating that it is at Alabama this year. Look, Alabama's going to probably be the favorite in this game. However, I think Texas has the quarterback position figured out more than Alabama does, and so it's going to be awesome to see that game. And I think Texas has a shot to win that game. But let's just say if Texas loses this game and Texas is 1-1, I think they beat Wyoming. They're 2-1. They beat Baylor. They're 3-1. I think they beat Kansas this year. They'll be 4-1 because they play at Texas. And then here's Oklahoma, right? So Texas is sitting 4-1 coming up to Oklahoma if the betting odds are right. So 4-1, per the betting odds, the only loss they have is to the number 2 team in the country. They do not fall out of the top 10, folks, especially if that game is close. Now, I want to stop staring at the screen. I want to take a look at Oklahoma's schedule. So if I take a look at Oklahoma's schedule and see exactly what Oklahoma has in store, we can see that this has potential to be a great matchup because Oklahoma plays Arkansas State. They're going to beat Arkansas State. They play SMU. They will beat them. They play Tulsa. They will beat them. So Oklahoma State is 3-0. They play Cincinnati. They will beat Cincinnati. And then they play Iowa State. They should beat Iowa State in business. Oklahoma has potential to be 5-0. Now, if the preseason rankings stay the same and they are 13 and we are 5, and let's say we only have 1 loss and they are undefeated, we have an opportunity for this to be a top 10 matchup going into the Red River Shootout, man. And that will be absolutely outstanding. Absolutely amazing to see Texas and OU that highly ranked going into this game. Last year was lopsided. Oklahoma didn't have a quarterback. But the previous years, the games have been madly competitive. And I'm telling you, man, they've been awesome games. Wish Texas would have won some more. However, we won last year 49 to nothing. But I will say Oklahoma didn't have a quarterback there. So if Texas and Oklahoma takes care of business, let's say Texas beats Alabama, and you have 2 5-0 teams meeting in the Cotton Bowl. Oh man, you want to talk about fireworks there? But I'm not going to talk about Oklahoma too much more anymore. Let's go ahead and continue to talk about Texas and just Texas's schedule for the 2023 season, because I want to kind of just expand upon what Pro Football Focus is saying about them being the number 5 team in the country. Now, after that Oklahoma game, Texas plays Houston. I think Texas beats Houston. Houston lost too much talent just over the previous year. They played BYU at Texas, and I think they beat BYU. Kansas State's always a tricky one, but they don't have Deuce Vaughn coming back. I think Texas beats Kansas State. TCU is going to be another tricky one, but they've lost a lot of players. Quentin Johnson's left. He's in the draft, and he's now playing in the league. Star quarterback Duggan is gone as well. And then Iowa State at Iowa State is going to be tough, though. It's going to be tough, but I think they beat Iowa State. And I think the game here is Texas Tech. Can Texas and Texas Tech? This has kind of been a really good, really decent rivalry over here. Joe McGuire's been doing his thing over there at Tech. What does Texas do against Texas Tech at Texas? I think Texas wins that game. If all things hold the same, and it is, let's say, a coin flip Alabama, a coin flip Oklahoma, Texas should finish no worse than 10-2. If all things stay the same and injuries are at a minimum, and injuries to key players are at a minimum. We're always going to put that caveat in there. I think that's what Pro Football Focus is looking at the schedule and seeing the talent that is returning to Texas and saying Texas has a legitimate shot to do some outstanding and amazing things in their last year in the Big 12 here prior to them going into the SEC. And I totally agree with Pro Football Focus. I think Texas at preseason number 5. I hate being ranked that high so early in the season because then we get the fans that come out and expect us to win the national championship right now. And could it happen? Yes, it could happen. We have a very mature team, and I think Texas can do great things. However, I kind of like to fly under the radar as of now. But look, let me know in the comments, what do you think? Texas being the preseason number 5 team per Pro Football Focus. I think that's honestly, I think Texas should be a preseason top 10 team at least. The game in the second week is going to actually just decide a lot on this commentary here because it could be very interesting to see how Texas handles the pressure going up to Alabama and playing. Is Quinn going to be a lot better than he was last year? Is the running game going to be as stout as it was last year? Look, we understand Bijan Robinson is a transcendent talent, one of the best running backs that we've seen in college football in a long time, and we have lost him. And then we lost Rojo, who could have started for 60-70% of the teams in college football. Just happen to be behind the best running back in the country, a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. So Texas is losing a lot of firepower at the running back position. However, we have kept a ton of firepower at the wide receiver position. Xavier Worthy, Jordan Whittington, Isaiah Nair coming back healthy, Casey Kane still on the team, A.D. Mitchell coming from Georgia. We still got J.T. Sanders at tight end, and I tell you, J.T. Sanders is only going to be here one more year, folks. And I think Pro Football Focus is really excited about seeing how he is going to mature in this probably his last season in college football. He was already one of the best tight ends in the country last year. So we got a lot to look forward to at Texas and see how this next season is going to play out. Do you agree with the top 5 preseason rankings per Pro Football Focus? I think it's pretty much in line. I like the rankings, and hey, let's see how everything plays out in the field. But like I say, week 2 is going to be a great deciding factor on if this is a true, a true accurate projection here for the Texas season. I'm also looking forward to if Oklahoma takes care of business, which they should in those first 5 games. We might have the potential to see 2 undefeated teams going to the Cotton Bowl at week 6. Two undefeated teams in the top 10 going to the Cotton Bowl in week 6 for all the marbles and to be the front runner for the Big 12 championship to play in that title game. But on that, folks, on that note, folks, let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. Like I always tell you guys, hey, man, do you. Don't be afraid to fail out, grow your environment, understand your brilliance. Horns always up. Ninos Corner, I'm out. Peace. Hook 'em.